The Man Who Turned Trust into a Weapon. Written and presented by Salman Nassim Shad. What if someone offered you an opportunity that sounded intelligent, legal, and carefully structured, yet promised returns far greater than anything banks or businesses could offer at the time? Not luck, not gambling, but a system explained with confidence, logic, and convincing detail. Now imagine this person dressed well, spoke fluently, and already had people publicly praising him for delivering exactly what he promised. Payments were made on time. Profits appeared real. There were no visible warning signs. Would you question such an opportunity? Or would you trust what you saw? More than a century ago, thousands of people chose trust. That trust created one of the most infamous financial deceptions in history. This is the story of Charles Ponzi. Charles Ponzi was born in 1882 in Italy into a modest but respectable family. From a young age, he was fascinated by stories of America, a land where immigrants arrived with nothing and became successful through ambition alone. These stories shaped his dreams and expectations. In 1903, Ponzi arrived in the United States with only a few dollars in his pocket. Reality was far harsher than he imagined. He worked as a dishwasher, a waiter, and a laborer. Jobs came and went, but success did not. Ponzi wanted recognition, not survival. Slow progress frustrated him, and frustration pushed him toward crime. While working at a bank in Canada, he committed fraud and was sent to prison. Later, he was imprisoned again for smuggling immigrants. Prison did not reform Ponzi. It educated him. He learned how confidence could overpower truth and how trust could be manipulated. After his release, Ponzi discovered international reply coupons used for international mail. He claimed these coupons could be bought cheaply in weak economies and exchanged for higher value stamps in stronger ones. The idea sounded intelligent and legal, but large-scale profit was impossible. That did not matter. Ponzi promised investors 50% returns in 45 days. Early investors were paid using money from new investors. Confidence grew. Doubt disappeared. This was the birth of the Ponzi scheme. Money poured in. Workers, families, and even businessmen invested their savings. Ponzi lived in luxury, and his visible wealth became proof of legitimacy. But the system depended entirely on constant growth. When journalists and authorities investigated, the truth collapsed. In 1920, Charles Ponzi was arrested. Thousands lost their savings. Ponzi was imprisoned, deported, and eventually died poor and forgotten in 1949. Yet his legacy remains. Today, Ponzi schemes still exist, hidden behind technology, online investments, and promises of guaranteed returns. The language changes, but the structure does not. Because the most dangerous scams do not target ignorance. They target hope. This was Charles Ponzi. The man who turned trust into a weapon. This deception did not happen overnight. It grew slowly, feeding on trust, confidence, and human desire for security. Charles Ponzi understood something most people ignore when money is involved. Logic often takes a back seat to emotion. Ponzi himself was not a financial genius. He did not create real wealth or innovation. What he mastered was perception. He understood that people trust what appears successful. When early investors were paid, they became living advertisements. Their stories attracted more people, and the cycle repeated itself. As money poured in, Ponzi lived a life of luxury. Fine suits, expensive cars, and grand offices created the illusion of legitimacy. The richer he appeared, the more believable his scheme became. But the system was fragile. It depended entirely on new investors. When journalists began asking simple questions, the illusion cracked. Government investigators followed, and the truth became impossible to hide. Thousands of people lost their savings. Dreams collapsed overnight. Ponzi was sent to prison, later deported, and eventually died.